or so weeks, I've chosen to research the effects that the evolving technology of social media has had on the individual and society, because I wanted to discover whether people were becoming more full-minded as an overwhelmed with the sheer amount of media that's available to them, or more mindful and better informed on the world and the realities that they live in. But my interest with technology and how it was affecting people became provoked in the wake of the 2016 presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, because people seem to have different statistics and information for nearly every event that transpired within the campaigns. And I believe this can be attributed to the evolving technology of social media, because people have been able to lock themselves in their own social echo chambers. Which led me to begin reading Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, because it seemed to be the go-to cliche that everyone was using for current events in our last election, and I was particularly shocked at how Aldous Huxley was able to predict the mannerisms and actions of humans nearly 85 years in the future. But the main focus of Brave New World was mankind's eagerness to distract himself with the use of media and other forms of entertainment, rather than stopping to address the problems and the realities of the world that they lived in. And also man's willingness to accept propaganda, which is eloquently described in Edward Bernays' book Propaganda as the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the masses. And after completing Brave New World, I stumbled across George Orwell's 1984, which is a novel very similar to Brave New World, except it took an opposing viewpoint on government involvement and the role that technology would play in the lives of people in the future. Which I believe the cause for this change in tone is due to the political climate of the world that Orwell lived in. And the reason I believe Orwell took the approach that he did is because of the recently defeated Nazi Germany, which there are a lot of similarities between the government in 1984 and the government of Nazi Germany. Most importantly with the thought police, which seemed to draw a comparison to the Gestapo, and after reading Carson Dam's book, The Gestapo, I found that both organizations fulfilled similar tasks, including espionage and tracking. But both of the two novels shared a lot of the same core principal ideas with one another. For example, both of the societies were shrouded in ignorance, except in 1984 we got to see a lot more of the harsh realities of the world, such as war and destruction, whereas in Brave New World, those truths were hidden with the use of drugs and propaganda, making the world appear to be sunshine and rainbows. And after all my research, I've come to compare my initial thoughts about the evolution of technology and social media on the individual with the thoughts of these two authors, which neither of the two were spot on with their predictions of the future, but I felt that Aldous Huxley was more accurate of the two authors. Because Huxley made the point of humans' natural affinity for comfort and pleasure, which would explain why people have drifted into their own social echo chambers, where whatever skewed statistic or misleading information can be treated as if it is an undeniable truth, because once we find comfort in an idea, we covet it and mostly ignore anything that contradicts it. Except what surprised me the most about this topic after researching it for the last couple of weeks was how it was not about the technology, but rather it was about people and how predictable they were. Because people evidently have a sort of pattern to the reactions to different situations, which is why Aldous Huxley and George Orwell's works can still be applied to things like our election this past year. Thank you.